Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you KTS for the introduction. And thank you Kadir Bhai for giving me the opportunity to moderate this panel on a very short notice, but I'll try to manage it very well. Okay, we have been discussing quite a lot on the cybersecurity, and of course, cyber risk has always been a threat to many organizations. Of course, if they are not prepared, it will be a threat, and it will be a nightmare if they don't feel that cybersecurity is really the pain for them. So they will have to face the consequences. But there are organizations who have invested a lot in the cybersecurity tools, practices, policies, and procedures. But still, as rightly said by KTS, that do we still think that cybersecurity or cyber risk cannot happen to any organization despite the fact the number of what you can say steps or measures that we have taken so far? Yes, no one is sure that that cannot happen, because as the technology is growing, changes are happening on daily basis. So of course, cybersecurity risk will continue, threats will happen, and it will come with a new shape and form. So now I will return back to my esteemed panelists who are here to basically talk more about their experiences and the question that I will be putting on to them. So my first question to the esteemed panelists would be that, are we ready to embrace emerging technologies, keeping in view our fears of getting attacked by hackers? What measures your organization has taken in order to adopt risk-based security mindset? And this is the question from all the participants, and starting off with Mr. Mohammed.
Thank you very much. If you don't mind, I can speak in both the languages, in English and Urdu.
Yes, you feel comfortable.
So, embracing new technology, I'm a firm believer that just like I've heard somewhere that you cannot stop love, similarly you cannot stop technology to come in. The technology that is brought in is always bringing new opportunities for our businesses to grow, and of course our customers to avail these facilities that we offer to them. However, with every new technology there are new threats, new problems, new risks that arises. I would not say new risks. The risks are pretty much standard over the years. The shape and form of those risks have been altered with the advent of new methods and new technologies. How a particular thing is useful to us, what bad it can do to our infrastructure, to our existing posture, that is something that we need to do first and foremost. So, give an example of the introduction of generative AI in our organization. We opted this almost a year ago. It was in very infancy, and the first and foremost project that we did was to integrate this in our chatbot, where customers are asking questions and the generative AI was replying to them. So we had a thorough assessment of this new technology for around 6 months to understand what exactly it is all about, what sort of accesses it has to the backend systems, to the front-end systems, how it learns, if there is a repository out in the cloud, how this repository is being populated, and what the information is going to be cascaded out to our customers. So again, theoretically, like you mentioned that we can reduce the risk, the probability will never go absolute zero.
Never goes
so
away.
there's no absolute assurance. But on an overall perspective, if the impact can be reduced to a certain level, which is acceptable to our organization, I think that's a good to go case for us.
So you are rightly said, Mohammed Masar, the residual risk will always remain within the organization. It is up to the management that they have to accept it and live with it. So coming down to Faisal Saab, I will repeat the same question for you, that are we ready to embrace the emerging technologies, keeping in view our fears of getting attacked by hackers? And what measures your organization has taken to adopt this risk security mindset?
So contextually, the question can be actually bifurcated into multiple domains. The first thing that you need to see is rightly so, yes, we are ready for the emerging technologies, but at the same time, it needs to be linked to the sector that you are operating in. That is where you need to not only call out for a technology risk, but the risk appetite for the organization also. So, giving you an example contextually, if I were to operate in an automotive industry, I would like to be cutting edge, so might be claiming to deliver a vehicle which can do a single charge and more than 1,000 kilometers.
True.
But if I were to be in a financial sector, my view to technology needs to align with the maturity of the market, acceptability of the market, because when you launch the most cutting edge technology, sometimes it is before time. So it is not that the technology fails, it is just the timing is not right. So number one, the risk positioning, risk profiling of the organization needs to be done from its risk appetite point of view, plus the sector that one is operating in. And for example, in tech, what Facebook or Google would like to adopt, banking, you may be slightly conservative. I would not say that you would not do it, but you may take a slightly cautious approach because the impact is far much bigger. While you're doing this risk calculation, because your question was more around the risk, not only the technology residual risk needs to be calculated. It needs to be lined up with the impact to the socioeconomic factors. It needs to be aligned with the reputational loss of the organization. When all of this is put together, and this is when the last you do, the technology risk it. And you then align it with your business objectives.
Yeah.
When all of this fall in line, then you say, okay, this is the line I'm going to toe in this very, very specific industry.
And of course, risk assessment has to be done
Yes.
on regular basis.
And at the same time, one of the things that sometimes we skip out is while we do adopt the emerging technologies, it is not about that one specific technology that it will impact the landscape at large.
True.
So I used to have a discussion with one of my ex-colleagues sitting right in front of me. This is when we were doing in my previous role, cloud native or the cloud deployment. So it was, on one side it was adoption of a new technology on-prem, but at large it was impacting the security posture of the organization, which was in line with a non-cloud native infrastructure. So it's not just single line impact that needs to be drawn, it needs to be looked at that how the overall horizon changes by the adoption of that technology.
Okay, coming down to Mehzad, it will be the same question from you as well. What kind of risk-based structure Engro has taken so far, and what measures have they taken in order to prevent such risks within the organization?
So, in order to understand the risk-based culture and to enforce this really religiously, personally speaking, I have been to the CISO of more than 5-6 companies. And if I recall my first CISO meeting in, let's say, 10 years back in one of my old company, I was monitoring one thing. During the board meeting, all CFO, they were able to convince the top management immediately. Why? Because they were having profit and loss statements, financial statements, all backed by facts and figures. No one could go and challenge these numbers. And once we were going, we were just talking something in the air. Yeah, it will happen, then it will do something. The most important thing which I learned from this exercise and learning from CFO and other business people, that start translating your stuff into facts and figures, into numbers, into financial numbers even. So rather than saying like the SQL injection can cause disruption on the network, we start translating this into, let's say, if the disruption is gonna be for 2 days, how much could be a financial loss in case of a plant outage? Immediately, we started getting attention from top management. So the most important thing is the risk metrics should be defined. For most of the CXO level stuff, whether it is HR or finance, even CIO and CTOs. I have seen it is well defined, but once it comes to cyber security, you know, I think it's required a lot of effort to translate this into actual risk so that we can get proper attention and traction and of course the budget. Otherwise, you know, it will remain a very bookish approach and very subjective discussion, which mostly is being discussed through enterprise risk management frameworks. And I have seen people, you know, I found them yawning, you know, during the meetings, because you'll have to create the interest. You should know how to create the story and how to throw this, not keeping this risk only within yourself, but throwing this towards big shoulders so that they can feel the heat, and then finally they should
confidence level
actually,
also increases
last
within
but
the
not the
organization.
least, rather than again going and showing the risk, one of the best approach which I have adopted it whenever I have my great ethical hacker comes to me that we are able to do something, I always ask them, can you translate this into a 1-minute recorded video? And if we do that, believe me, you know, seeing is believing. So we go, I usually go and just play that video and then immediately get attention. And all this risk, you know, discussion, then it remain at in the background, and immediately we get the top, you know, management buy-in. You know, that is the, you know, learning from this
That's a
overall
good
experience.
initiative that I would say that has taken by you. Okay, moving down to RF sir. So HBL being the largest bank in Pakistan and having so many branches, so what kind of risks-based structure have you basically enforced within your organization?
I think, hello.
Yeah, it's open. Yeah.
It's working. Basically, what I would say is that adoption of emerging technologies, you know, I'd like to briefly touch upon that first. It is not a choice. It is something we are already into. Business needs new technologies. The challenges are far more complex. Whether it's artificial intelligence, whether machine learning, whether robotics, it is something that is already there. So being cybersecurity professionals, we have to then respond to this situation, and it's going to be much more in future. I would say there are a couple of things which we need to be mindful of. One is that introduction of new technologies is not something that is new. There has always been an evolution in the technology, whether it's cloud, whether it's internet, or otherwise. The technology has always evolved, and always we had been in a situation where we had to secure it. So we have that experience with us. I think another thing which is normally said is about the complexity that it introduced. The business challenges have become much more complex. We are trying to address more complex challenges through technology, and as a result of it, technology itself is becoming complex. I feel that complexity again is something that has been there. It has been evolving. We have been dealing with much more you know, complex challenges. I think there are two things which I feel are different this time, which we need to probably appreciate. One is that the pace of change that is happening, the desire for adoption of technology, the receptiveness, both from the investment, you know, the eagerness to invest in digitization and provide digital services. I think that has, especially post-COVID, that has radically changed in Pakistan. I think globally, it is something that was there. It has evolved. So the pace of change itself, that creates a challenge. I think the second challenge which I see is the shift of this decision making from human to technology because of this artificial intelligence, machine learning. This shift has made technology, the nature of the technology itself, very, very important. So the risks are very real. We need to respond to it, and I think all of us probably agree with that. I think as far as the response is concerned, I think one of the, you know, the esteemed guests have already spoken extensively about it. I'll put down few of my observations. I think one of the things which is very important is that we need to select right technology as well. Some technologies are more secure than others, so we need to have a strong due diligence process, security due diligence process. I feel that in our local industry, it is something that is probably it can be improved.
It can be done.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have another question that is quite a little trying to make it more interesting. That CISO is always responsible to take care of the cybersecurity, and everyone knows within the organization, okay, cybersecurity, you name it, CISO is there. But how CISO can sell the cybersecurity importance to the senior leadership, keeping in view that majority of the people on that particular boardroom belongs to baby boomer generations. So what exactly CISO has to do to gain interest and seek budget approvals? That's a tricky question, but of course I will ask Matsab to first start off with.
I think they can. अगर किसी organization में CISO है, so that hasn't nobody has to sell it anymore, because the organization has already accepted. Now banks के अंदर this is more of a regulatory requirement, ठीक है जी, समझ में आती है, लेकिन if you look around the entire industry in different sectors, everyone is recognizing that cybersecurity is a reality and it has to be, taken care of, and they are bringing in, resourceful people to man these CISO positions. Of course, Mehzad ne jo baat ki thi, it's a very difficult thing compared to a CIO, compared to a CFO. We do not have numbers associated to that. Everyone has a risk assessment, risk management process, and hum jab koi bhi baat karte hain, and
But there is an age gap as well.
There is
Age
an
gap
age
and the
gap.
generation gap. That is.
Yeah, I'm just coming over to that side. How these methods, these assessment methods and all are related to these people. We need to find that connection. I mean, what enticement is there for these baby boomers to accept it or not? Storytelling ki baat hui thi, some people are very
Good at
receptive to that.
storyboarding.
They're
Yes.
receptive to it.
Yes.
So you just have to find the right tone where it is easier for them to understand what it is. I give you my example. For the first time when I made a presentation to the board, it was very, very hugely applauded, and everybody was fascinated that a new guy has come into the organization. Ye function pehle exist nahi karta tha, so now we are on the right track. Third time I made the presentation, कहते हैं यार, it's a bit boring thing. तो आप इसमें कुछ change लेके आए हैं, कहते ठीक है. Then I actually spent time with all the board directors to understand from where they're coming from.
But there is another mindset that we have to change, is that threat has never happened in the past for the last 20 years, 50 years, let's say, for the organization that has been there for working there for last 20, 50 years. So how can we change that particular mindset, that threat still is there, but it has not happened? It might be a good luck for you.
देखिए, उसमें जो method हम लोग use करते हैं in our particular organization, we provide case studies to our board, and case studies not just from Pakistan but from global. So let's say अगर एक हम malware की example ले लेते हैं, malware has done ABC, या killware if it has done XYZ things. So we demonstrate to the board that this malware can actually affect our organization in one way or the other. Yes, our controls are there. There's been validated. We have a continuous control validation process as well. हमारे जो third line of defense हैं, external auditors हैं, they're also performing these validations. So yes, our controls are okay, but never say that it will never affect us. So.
Okay, coming down to Faisal Saab, I have another question for you. Banking industry has always taken the initiative in deploying latest infosec technologies. Regular audits is happening, enforcement of policy is also happening. But despite all these measures, hackers are still able to penetrate the banking systems and networks. As a specialist in security area, can you highlight what is the missing link, what is the missing measure that led to such an attack, and what actions are required to be taken to mitigate such attacks?
Very interesting and a tricky question. So first thing is buying a technology which is cutting edge, even on the security. That would not guarantee that you are secure. So it is always said as a saying, it's never about a gun, it's always about a gunner behind the gun. So you can have best of the best technology and very badly configured, and off you go. So that's number one, that is day zero. Unless that technology, before acquisition of technology, you need to understand the threat surface. What are you up against? If you don't even know what you're up against, and it is just something that is just hovering on the Twitter, and you draw your landscape around that, then something has fundamentally gone wrong. So you need to understand your business first. What are the business risks linked with it? And then what are you trying to protect? And to what extent you will protect? If I, as a technologist, would like to give that guarantees that if you give me $1 billion, I would make sure it's an absolute security, so then it's a wrong perception to build to start with. So a part would never be done. So that's number one part. That's the early adoption when you're doing the adoption of the technology. Okay. Once the technology is being deployed, the threat surface and the vector of attack would continue to drift and shift. It will evolve. Unless you move with that moving target and continue to change your controls in line with the new surface of attack, you will continue to be vulnerable. So normally what happens is you buy best of the best breed, you configure it to the best, and you said, now I've done my job well, okay, leave it. No, you can't leave it. It's just a very, very continuous process.
But not only the technology, deploying the technology, as you rightly said, that organization do have deployed the technology, but human element is also the biggest factor that has emerged up for the cybersecurity risk or cybersecurity threat.
This is where I was coming to. So what happens next is, because a threat is a risk-based approach, and a risk is different to everybody in this room. So if as an individual, define that risk threshold, and I've tried to start mitigating around that, and that risk threshold is not well aligned with the organization threshold, that's number one mismatch. Number two, for the ease of job, there are times when individuals would say that, okay, let me leave a back door for myself. Who's going to pass through 6 gates when I can easily bypass and have an access, not realizing that the biggest vulnerability that individual is creating that himself or herself at that very point in time, irrespective of that how vigilant he or she is, so that element needs to be done. Third is, the very important element is that how much of cybersecurity awareness training is being done, at which frequency it is being done, and how it is being done. Can you really demonstrate let's say, near the appraisal cycle, if you send out a phishing email and say that, okay, you've been promoted, let's see how many would actually fall for it. This is how you work around the maturity metrics of that. And that does not stop at the mid-tier or lower tier of the organization. That should go all the way up to the BOD. At least twice in a calendar year, the board should be given a rundown or a security awareness program. The presidents or the CEOs of the companies or those who are running the affairs of the state, that organization, they need to be equally part as a new joiner would be. So unless you do this chain complete from top to down, the just buying technology would not actually help.
Exactly.
And normally this is where you have the loose ends.
Yeah. Okay, coming down to Mehzad, data has always been a valuable resource for any organization, and you have seen that massive amount of data is increasing on daily basis. We are processing data, and the size is always increasing. But still, the companies are not taking data privacy and protection seriously, which is resulting in increased data breaches. So what measures and security solutions your organization has taken to enable and manage data privacy program?
So data privacy, to be honest, whenever you start differentiating between personal data and corporate data, then people will start understanding this whole concept. I used to say, like on personal level, everyone is very intelligent, very careful once it is his personal data or his personal loss is involved. But when it is corporate data, then it is in the hand of people, and they can forward to anyone, and they said, who cares? That required a lot of awareness and required some real life examples so that they can start paying attention. So give you a small challenge. Whenever we go to any website and trying to log in there, most of the people, they love to log in with the corporate email ID and password. No matter the purpose is for their personal, usage. Why? Because everyone wants to use one login and password. But actually, it exposes you indirectly, exposing your company corporate traditional account on these public websites. And why people are not paying attention? Because they don't understand that here it's not only that website. If he has registered himself on 10 websites and one of them is going to be compromised, indirectly it is a compromise of our corporate traditionals, because how many of you are not using the same password which you have registered on public and your corporate account? So this privacy stuff, we just need to link with real, as I said, with real life examples, and then people will start paying more and more attention. I give you a small example, like people were not understanding the difference. So I give them this briefing, said, you know what, maybe after 50 years you will find a big picture in the museum saying that, in the past there was a giant machine called aeroplane, and all of us used to go all together in one plane to reach our destiny. And it should be surprised after 50 years, because God knows people will be having their time machine, or individually they will be able to fly. Now, if we don't have this type of vision, then we will not understand the consequences. Same thing with our private data, which is being mixed with corporate data. If we will not give this type of example and will not give them red alerts, especially AI is here, which can change the integrity of your data, especially with the help of deepfake videos, deepfake audios, and deepfake, of course, changing a document was never an issue earlier. With this, the data is consisting of all these things. The most important thing is, out of these 3 CIA, the integrity, I think nowadays it has become more challenging, because it is very difficult to differentiate whether this data is a legitimate data or it is a illegitimate data, or whether it came to you after manipulation and the integrity is gone.
Yeah. So data privacy is always as important within the organization, because your personal data is always linked up, and the leakage of that data, of course, will cause problems not only for the organization but for yourself as well. So coming down to Arif Saab, one last question from your side. We are aware that the current economic conditions of our country and the resulting brain drain, which is getting higher day by day. So what challenges are you facing to hire the desired resource, and what kind of information security structure do you recommend within the organization?
So I think it's pretty obvious that hiring the best talent, especially in cyber security space, is a real challenge. It's known, it's settled. I think what we can do to respond to it, I think we need to work in all 3 spaces: hiring talent, developing talent, and retaining talent. So when it comes to hiring talent, I feel that there has to be a mix of experienced and fresh graduates. When it comes to experienced hires, there is that limited pool, but when it comes to fresh graduates, attracting them so that they can actually contribute, there is some work that needs to be done, and some of the keynote speakers touched upon it, and at HBL that is something we are working on as well. So for example, we are collaborating with the universities developing the curriculum. We are also, helping them in their projects as well. And also we are doing various drives with the leading universities in terms of building awareness about cybersecurity and why from career perspective that is important. So I think from hiring perspective, this mix is something that is important, otherwise you'll not have the pipeline. The second part, when it comes to building the talent, again, I think it has to be something where we need to rely, we do rely on trainings, whether local or international trainings. So for example, we would procure, bulk EC Council trainings, and then we, some of them are online, but those trainings are something that are beneficial. One of the things which we felt about, building the skill set is that we run every month knowledge sharing sessions, where somebody senior from a particular vertical within IS would present to probably, we have a team of around 100 security professionals, for example. So 30–40% of the workforce will be present every month. They'll be discussing a topic. What it has done is that it has done wonders for us, by the way. What it has done is that it has created a culture where knowledge sharing is encouraged. There's more frankness, there's more understanding of various domains, and it provides opportunities for the fresh graduates or the emerging talent to actually work with the seniors.
Okay.
Final point which I'll say about the retention, I think we need to treat our staff well, not only from the pay wise, otherwise as well. I've seen many of our colleagues who have left in various organizations. I'm not just talking about HBL. And they moved abroad as well, that brained in. It was not primarily because they wanted to go there. In certain cases, they wanted to stay, but somehow we are not able to retain them. I think, and that puts a lot of onus upon us as to how we treat them and how can we actually make it a viable proposition for them.
Thank you, Arif sir. With this, I would like to conclude this panel discussion. And of course, we have understood that cybersecurity risk will be there, despite the fact organizations are taking measures and will continue to take measures. Training will be there, certain set of risk mitigation activities will be there. But organization should prepare themselves for the risk and should have the methodology or the techniques to recover back if just in case any basically attack happens. So with this, I would like all the esteemed panelists for being with me here, and thank you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Boss, thank you very much, and panelists.